Well, hello Year 5. As you remember, we were reading Cosmic when we were in class, and we'd actually got to the part where they'd all gone into the 15G or 12G or vortex, okay, just so that they could gauge how they would be when they were in space. So let's go and see how this pans out. The door opened. I was so proud of us that I tried to stroll out and swagger past the others. Unfortunately, I seemed to have lost my swagger control skills and ended up swaggering sideways. Sit down, Florida, sit down, Mr. Digby. Take a rest. You've done very well. I think she probably meant us to sit down on something, but as soon as she said it, I let my legs go, and so did Florida. We just sort of plonked ourselves down on the floor. Monsieur Martinet was still hissing at Max. Eddie Xanadu was pleading with Dr. Drax to let Hassan be excused. Dear little Hassan really doesn't want to do it. I'm afraid dear little Hassan will have to do it, unless he doesn't want to go to space. I thought some people just have no control over their children, and everyone went quiet and looked at me. Apparently, I'd thought this out loud. Very loud. So, snarled Monsieur Martinet, you think you can do better? I think I already did, I shrugged and pointed at Florida. She gave him a cheeky little wave. I should have left it at that, but now that he'd said it, I did think I could do better. Samson too was now squealing, I'm not going, I'm not going, I'm not going, I'm not going. And to think they'd laughed at Florida. It would serve his dad right if I could get his son to go in there when he couldn't. I decided to engage. Hey, Samson too, what's the biggest ride you've ever been on? He looked blank. Have you ever been on an inverted roller coaster? No. An ordinary roller coaster? No. Inverted bungee? I was on a seesaw once. A seesaw? Not a real seesaw. It was really a large model used for demonstrating the action of vectors around a full scrum. But while my father wasn't looking, I sat on it. Sorry, Father. So there was no one on the other end of the seesaw. No, but I solved that problem easily by propelling myself upwards my legs repeatedly, in effect making myself into a vector. And that's the only ride you've ever been on? A one-ended seesaw? It was fun. No wonder he was scared. Imagine going on something like the vortex if you've never been on a proper seesaw. I tried to explain to him about rides, about how in a few months' time the dome would be full of people paying money, queuing up, desperately wanting to go on the vortex for fun. But why won't they be scared? They will be scared. They'll be terrified. But they want to be terrified. It's a nice feeling. A tingly feeling. And they'll be with their friends, and their friends will be teasing them and daring them. You know we're very lucky. We've beaten the queues. He looked over at the vortex and said, OK, I'll go. I grinned at Samson 1, thinking that'll teach you to laugh at us. Then Samson 2 said, as long as you come with me. What? You say it's fun. You must want to do it again. Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be fair on your dad if I took his turn. I don't mind, said Samson 1, a bit too quickly. Well, maybe Dr. Drax wouldn't agree. It's hard to fault the child's logic, Mr. Digby, said Dr. Drax. And once you've rested, there's no reason why you shouldn't go into the vortex again. It wasn't so bad the second time. The only trouble was I was just thinking to myself, this seat is tiny. I'm really uncomfortable and I can't move. When we came to the bit where time stands still, so that big, depressing thought just sat there in the front of my brain for ages and ages, blotting everything out, making it all seem worse. So if you ever have to endure a period of prolonged weightiness, my tip is that you try and have a happy thought. When we'd finished it took Samson too a moment to get his breath. Then he said, "Is it over?" "Yes. What did you think?" "It was very informative." "Informative?" "Yes. Gravity's not a bit like it looks in the diagrams." When we came out, even though it felt like we'd been in there for years, nothing had changed. Hassan was still telling his dad that he wouldn't go in there, and Monsieur Martinet was still poking Max in the chest and calling him a loser. Max was taking no notice until he saw me. Then he said, "I'll go in." "Good boy, Max," said Monsieur Martinet, glancing at Mr. Xanadu. You could see that when he said good boy, he really meant better than your boy. "As long as I go in with him," said Max, pointing at me. When I climbed into the vortex for the third time, I concentrated on happy thoughts of all the great stuff I'd done since deciding to be a grown-up. Walking in the Gobi Desert, and driving a car, and flying a plane when I should have been in Waterloo High Playground. Max leaned forward in his chair and said, "I voted for you last time." "You did?" I wondered who had voted for me. I never thought for a minute it was him. "I vote for you this time too. I vote for you because I want you to come with us. Not my father. I want you to come because you are a loser." "A what?" "A loser." "I'm not a loser. I'm gifted and talented." "When you were running down the sand dune, that made me laugh," he said. "And when you were rolling on the floor in the spacesuit, remember?" Not the details." "When you do stupid things." "They weren't that stupid. I just, will you do something, stupid boy, please?" "I'll give it my best shot." "Thanks for that." Then, thunk, we were off again. Only this time, when I got to the forever bit, instead of thinking about flying and walking the desert, the word loser stuck in the front of my brain and stayed there. When we came out, Hassan was saying he wouldn't go in. Dr. Drax said, "If the child needs more time to prepare himself mentally, perhaps this would be a good opportunity for the other dads to take their turn. Samson 1 and Monsieur Martinet come right together, and then Mr. Xanadu can go on with Hassan." They looked a bit unsure, but what could they say? They took their turn, and this time I got to watch from the outside. To start with, the washing machine chugged round at something like the speed of a light woolens wash. Then it went up a gear to something like colour-fast cottons, and after that worryingly fast like a spin dryer, and then it suddenly started to slow down again. I said, "What happened? Has something gone wrong?" "No," said Dr. Drax, "that's the complete cycle. They've been in there just as long as you were." "But I was in loads longer than that." "They were in just the same time as you were, namely 6 minutes, including 1 minute at 15G. "Minute?" "Why?" said Dr. Drax, examining her fingernails. "Did it feel longer than that?" "Felt like a whole chapter of my life. Say about as long as I'd been at primary school." When the dads got out of the vortex, Florida was excited by the possibility that they might be sick, but they weren't. When they were done, Hassan looked at me and said, Everyone else went on with you. I want to go on with you. I'm a bit tired. That's so unfair. Everyone else got to go with you. Why shouldn't I? Dr. Drax said she really thought I had made my contribution already today. Hassan said, Daddy, tell him he has to go on with me. I'm afraid your daddy can't tell him that, said Dr. Drax, because it isn't true. Eddie Xanadu sidled up to me and said, How much to make it worth your while, Digby? A watch? A car, perhaps? A car? No, thanks. I don't think you'll be able to bribe Mr. Digby, Mr. Xanadu, said Dr. Drax. Then Hassan said to me, very quietly, Come on with me and I'll vote for you. And I realised that though Mr. Xanadu couldn't bribe me, his son really could. Knowing that the lifetime at 515G was only a minute made the fourth time easier. I was just starting to get my happy thoughts ready when Hassan said, There was a war in my country. Oh yeah? Soldiers came to our village. They wanted to take away all children, but my father paid the most important soldier some money so that he wouldn't take me away. You could hear the engine warming up outside. Hassan started to talk more quickly. That's why he loves money, because it can help. Well, fair enough. And the reason he wants more money, I watched all my friends being taken away, all the children from my school. I watched our house burning down. He told me this, and then the engine started, and in my head I saw Glenarm Close Bootle all in flames, and Mum and Dad and Florida all being taken away by soldiers. That's what I was thinking. When I got to the forever bit, I was still thinking about it when the ride was over, but Hassan was grinning. He said, That was fantastic! I could do that again! I suppose anything is fantastic compared to having your house burned down and your mates led away. He bounced out of the machine. Don't forget to vote, I called after him. Me, 6. Eddie Xanadu, 6. Mr. Martinet, 2. Samson, 1, 2. Everyone had voted for me. Next chapter will be Last Chance to Vote. That's all for now, guys. Hope you have fun and hope you keep safe. You all take care. Till next time.